Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the place to be on a Monday night here at Okayama this week for round 3 of Monday Night Lights season 14. And joining me for the first time this season in commentary is Mr. Timmy Gorcrotcher. Timmy, welcome back to the commentary booth. Great to have you here, mate. Lots on offer here again tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Nice to be back after probably a month in the end, but a nice little break and feeling refreshed and looking forward to getting back into it at Okayama.
Yeah, that's right, mate. It's free track, of course, so we get quite a few people turning up just for the week, checking out the series, which is great. But tonight, of course, plenty of the regulars here and plenty of unfamiliar face. Although I have to say, most of the guys in the split here tonight seem to be all faces that we know. In fact, I can only see one or two that haven't been here before. So great to see what the Monday Night Lights can do for us, Tim. And it really is a great platform for the guys involved, isn't it?
Yeah, you're on the money, mate. It is, and a good opportunity, one to flex it with the best in the game. And as you know, we attract some pretty high IR drivers every week. But of course, the more track time you get, the better you're going to get, and that's kind of how it works. And when you're in the top split, if you're good enough to make it, those top sort of 15, 16 guys tonight are going to have a great hit out. So looking forward to seeing what it brings as the cars are on track for quali at the moment and just out there setting their first laps. But I guess we have the cream of the crop, of course, out tonight for Antonitis. And he's been on fire lately, just untouchable and just so hard to catch. And I think he cleared out last week in the first... By the end of the first lap, he had a comfortable lead, and that was all she wrote, you know. So I'm sure he's pretty keen to have a repeat of last week and kick things off in the right fashion.
Yeah, that's right. The talk around town and the real hubbub around town is he put a big post on the forums, spruiking the coaching services of young Johnny Gindy, who helped him out with a bit of a lesson or a bit of a coaching session during the week. And you know, most of us can't believe that he shaved, 3 or 4 tenths off his lap around here, which speaks to the quality of both men involved, to be honest, the coaching skills and the mindset of someone like Fahim, who is really one of the best at going around, and yet still humble enough to go get some coaching and really make the most of it. So fascinating to see what he can do tonight. Really interested to see. He's very strong around here, as we saw in the race preceding this. But a few other folks out there who'll be strong out there as well. Ben Snell, one of the newly minted Team Milo drivers, he's out there in qualifying, as is a couple of his teammates in Alex John and Russell Clark. Numbers 6, 7 and 8 closely ranked, these guys out here tonight, and looking no doubt to compete amongst themselves as much as everyone else to see who's got bragging rights in the garage there, Tim.
Yeah, no, it should be good, and I think first laps are in the bank for most of the guys, and as we suspected, lo and behold, hang on your hats for Antonitis, looking pretty good. First lap in the bank, and he's done a 1:45.2. As quick as you like, and 3.5 tenths above anyone else on his first lap. And second time around, he's just going to improve on that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what. Look, Ian Bevan is a bit further back than I'd expect, P6, and I would have thought he's the one who's really going to push for him tonight. But to see what he can bring on his second lap and hopefully close that gap at the moment. Sorry, P7. As John Skoltz puts in his first lap. So Ian Bevan, P2 on the IR ranking, but got a lot of work to do at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely does. He'll be fuming, no doubt, at that first lap and banking everything on this final lap to see if he can't improve on that. Why don't we get rid of that and see how he is going there with the quali compare? I'll get rid of that other one there. So right now we've got the leading timer for Antonitis. He's done a 45.2, and Ian Bevan now coming around the tail section of this lap now. He's through these tight twisty bits at the end here, coming down through Hobbs now into Michael Knight, the penultimate corner now. What can he do to see if he can't move himself further up the order? Because P7 is not where we're used to seeing him as he comes down around last corner now, the creatively named turn 11. Yes, it is last corner in the official books as he comes now down to the line. chasing that time of a 45.2 set by Fahim, and he's done a 45.3. That'll bump him well and truly up the order. In fact, it gets him to P2 on the standings. So that's a good lap there from Ian Bevan there. Just 0.175 behind Fahim there in P1 there, Tim.
Yeah, it is a good result. And just looking at Fahim's time, surprised he didn't go quicker because I really talked him up and disappointed. He lost out by 600ths over his previous lap. So, but a good result for Ian. He'll be chuffed with that. And I'd be disappointed for the race tonight if he hadn't qualified where, we know he's capable of qualifying. So we can really mix it with Fahim and the guys up the front, So a good result for Ian. And Ben Verhoff he's looked like he's got P3 pretty well stilled at the moment. He has indeed. Quali's over. And a good result for him and only a couple of tenths off as well. So a good second lap, but Fahim's got the pace. There's no doubt about that. To do that lap time on his first lap, I mean, that's supreme form. So it'll be hard to stop, as we've seen. And I'm looking forward to the race, mate. Should be a good one.
Absolutely. While the guys are gritting, let's take a look at how they shape up tonight for round 3 of Monday Night Lights, coming to you live from Okayama. Fame Antonitis, as we said only the one quick lap time tonight. He's sitting in P1. Ian Bevan with that great second lap, he's in P2. Ben Verhoff from ANZ in P3. Plenty of action on track expected tonight amongst those three, and perhaps even with Ben Snell in P4, the leading Team Milo driver. Plenty of action up front. Looking forward to it. Kevin Henderson, great qualification from Kevin from the ANZ Club, stalwart of Monday Night Lights. He's in P5. P6, Hawken Grebstead, currently leading the MNL Championship for season 14. He's in P6. P7, John Scholz, first the Team Venom races. Cristobal Otero Roman in P8, becoming somewhat of an MNL regular. Alex J. John, Team Milo in P9. Russell Clark, his teammate, in P10. P11, Oscar Chinchilla-Maza, another MNL regular from Iberia in P11. P12, Sean Curran from ANZ. P13, Toshimasa Hanada, he's another MNL regular wannabe. P14, Jose Miguel Casado Gil from Iberia, new to MNL. P15, and representing Friday Night Race Club from ANZ is Mr. Paul Nico Nicholson. Well done to Paul for making the top split tonight. And the cowboy himself, Sam Devantier, in P16, rounding out your field tonight as the guys all look to take the grid. Plenty of action ahead as the guys all got that nice long shot there as the guys make the run down into turn one as the starter tells them to start revving their engines. Red lights are on. What can these guys do here tonight? We've got 13 laps around Okayama. The green lights are away. They all pull over to the right, or the driver's left, I should say, right hand of your screen as they try to make it through turn one. Looks like most have managed to get it done. And this snaking pack of Skip Barber cars looking to put on a great show tonight. Couple of movers and shakers going on already, but everyone seemingly to get away cleanly, Tim.
Clean start, including the boys at the back. Surprisingly good. And for him in control on that line is not straight at the moment as they go through Atwood curve, but they run up the hill, long back straight now. And I'm sure Ian's keen to put some pressure on Fahim and sort of show a bit of strength in this race, because he wouldn't be too keen on sitting back. And he's going to pull left here and try and pop a move around the outside of the hairpin corner. He gets close to Fahim. Surprised he didn't make contact. Fahim, I think, smart enough to jump on the brakes a bit early, not get too close. Oh, contact. Fahim cops a bit of a bang in the rear wheel from Ben Verhoff. Unfortunate there, but he got checked up by Ian Bevan. And I'm going to say I think Fahim's got a bit of damage. He does. He's flowing back through the field. That is unfortunate for Fahim, and I'm sure he's going to be taking that fast repair in and out of the pits to see if he can get a reasonable haul of points tonight, but things not looking good at the moment, unfortunately.
No, let's hop on board with Fahim as they went through 2 by 2 at the end. Oh yeah, Ben Verhoff up the tail, sort of checked up and perhaps going a bit slower than Ben Verhoff was expecting. In fact, he would, and then Fahim, of course, carrying that damage from then on in, and I imagine, I think he'll be going into the pits now as we go back to live footage, and that's a real shame for both Fahim and for the race, because one of the top drivers in this field out early, Tim.
Yeah, it is disappointing, and we expected him up the front to set the pace and really control things, but Ian Bevan, I guess if he hadn't made the move around the outside, that might have been him in that position. So I guess that is the benefit of leading at the end of the day, that you're kind of in control of the pace and so on. But yeah, disappointing for him.
Yeah,
No
look,
doubt, mate. What we're guaranteed to see is some ridiculously quick laps that I'm sure he'll have the pedal to the metal, so to speak, and look to make some time up on Oscar Chinchilla Mazda in P15.
yeah, that's right. And from here on out, he's really relying on the misfortune of others or the misadventures of others to get back in this high-quality field. Of course, once again, right up with the strongest fields of the week. It's over 3,200 strength of field. Of course, the strength of field as they come down into the Turn 5 hairpin. Again, some creatively named corners around here, folks. This one is called the hairpin. The strength of field, of course, is representative of the iRating or the average or thereabouts of the iRating, which is the skill points rating of iRacing, and that's what gives us the overall strength of field. In terms of the official season, it gives them points and iRating points on offer. The stronger the field, the more points there are flowing around. But for Monday Night Lights, what we look to do is we run a special on the side championship to keep these blokes interested with the broadcast, and then really use it as a platform for the local ANZ guys to have a crack at the official season overall as well. But speaking of which, at the moment we have Ian Bevan and Ben Snell sitting out the front, both local ANZ boys. In fact, it's ANZ all the way down to P4 and Ben Furhoff, who had that unfortunate incident taking out one of our international guests, Mr. Antonides. And then the first of the international runners sitting in P5 is Håkan Grebstad, who is, of course, at the moment leading the Monday Night Lights Championship and looking to grab some good points. Now, trailing them at about 2.5 seconds behind is we've got Cristobal Otero Roman, who is becoming somewhat of a regular, and he's got pretty much the rest of the field in a long snake behind him, led by a couple of local boys in the Milo boys in Russell Clark and Alex J. John, with John Scott sitting behind there as well, representing Team Venom. So plenty of action still to play for, or plenty to play for down the back of the field as well, and I expect to see some good racing up there. But jumping back up front, there's a front pack of 5 that's looking to make every post a winner, Tim.
Yeah, there is. And just cast your eyes to the guy in P3. We spoke about him pre-stream, and that's Kevin Henderson. Hasn't spent much time in the Skippy lately, but put in a few good races at Okayama, and I tell you, I didn't expect to see him this far up the field. So a good result for him so far, and he's hanging on to the leaders without too much issue. As of course, it looks like Ben Snell got past Ian Bevan on the back straight and through the hairpin, but that's only going to help Kevin, and it looks like we're a group of 5 up front now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin Henderson is tucked in behind this battle for the lead in Ian Bevan and Ben Snell. They did similar things in the race preceding this. Called Skip Barber's every hour on the hour. If you're looking to get a race, you can see some of the best and tightest racing you will ever see on the iRacing service happens in this category. And it just happens so that every week at this time we put on a feature race and the guys come out to play. But these two, Ian Bevan and Ben Snell, they were at this hammer and tong sort of show in the previous race again, as we see Kevin pulling over to driver's right to defend somewhat from Ben Furhoff, who doesn't seem to be carrying any damage from that earlier incident with Fahim Antonitis. So I suspect there could have been some net code. Speaking of netcode, Ian Bevan, he has disappeared off my timing screen, leaving Ben Snell in front. I don't know if he's had network issues or what, but that would be a tragedy for Ian. He can't have picked up incident points. Of course, it's a limited 17 incident points per race, but certainly at this stage, I haven't seen Ian in any sort of trouble like that. What do you make of that, Tim?
Yeah, no, strange, and I'm obviously in the session it tells you who logs in and out and so on and so forth, but Ian hasn't been ejected, which can happen if you have poor internet and a particularly high ping. But we hope he'll pop up somewhere. But I think, for this time frame, more unlikely than not. So disappointing for Ian, but stranger things have happened. So we'll see what gives. But P2 now. Kevin Henderson looking really nice up close to the front. Sorry, Ben Snell leading at the moment, but Hendo doing a great job.
Absolutely, he's stuck with Ben Furhoff right up his gearbox there, and Håkan Grebstad, of course, looking to take over as well. It just popped over. Ian Bevan does stream his racing a fair bit, and it seems to have... Look, he was there, and then he wasn't. I think he's got some major network problems. That's unfortunate for Ian. It's taken him out of what was a fantastic position and out of the race. But still, the race goes on, and we have a leading pack of 4 putting on a great show, line astern. One of the things these guys are going to have to watch, particularly Ps2, 3 and 4 is the overheating engine. This track is notorious. I don't know whether it's a bug in iRacing or what it is the drivers not only pulling out of the draft and defending, they're also looking to get a bit of cool air for their engines, because engines really are very prone to blowing at this track, and you've got to really manage your engine temperatures and your driving style to suit as a result there, Tim.
Yeah, you do. It's a special sort of place, and we've seen, every couple of years, Okayama's on the schedule for the Skip Barber, and it is a engine killer. But these guys are doing the right thing. They're pulling out, not using the draft particularly, but just getting that bit of cool air up the intakes, just to ensure there's no issues. As Hendo gets a nice run up out of outward curve, and he's got the inside run on Ben Snell. He's going to be leading at the end of the back straight.
Sure is. I'm riding on board with Ben Furhoff at the moment. He's tucked right behind these two. Looking, there's just no way through there, and also keep an optimal line. No one wants to make it 3 wide through there, as we see Furhoff now. He's tucked in behind as Kevin Henderson leading the Monday Night Lights. That's not something I've said for a long time. Although Snell looking to come back up the inside there as the action goes on ahead of us here. Still on board with Furhoff here as he's now side by side. Oh, I said he didn't want to make it 3 wide, but he's making a liar out of me still. It's almost making it 3 wide there through where was that? Through Redmond at turn 8 now as they come down to Michael Knight at turn 10 on the tail end of lap 5. Tell you what, they'll cross the line this time with 9 to go, and the hearts are racing already.
Yeah, they are. And just interestingly, as Hendo put the move on Ben Snell up the back straight, I did catch a glimpse of a car in a bit of trouble in the background, and Russell Clark has I think I'm going to say he's had a hardware failure of some sorts, because he just turned straight into the wall coming up out of the outward curve. So all over for Russell. He's on track again, but it didn't look too good, and he's got a nice bit of damage on the front end, no wing, and extra air conditioning for good measure. But unlucky for him, he was looking pretty good. Yeah,
just riding on board with him now through the outward curve, as you say. Just going to go on replay and see. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I was on Alex John, unfortunately, but oh, that was a big crash for Russell. Let's duck back and see if we can't catch it. I was on the wrong Team Milo car there for a second. And as you say, he just kept turning right. Hardware failure, something. He's just bang into the wall, and that Milo car kept going and going and going, dare I say. And fortunately, there's a lot of safety measures in these cars, and the driver looks to have been okay. So hopefully he can get around, and that's an unlucky run for Russell there, and for the one of the very, very regular Monday Night Lights drivers, Tim.
I guess fortunately for the team, there's another 256 Milo entries in this very race. So, they're going to do okay in the team's championship, but unlucky for Russell. And just on board, I think Ben Furhoff's hit the back of Kevin Henderson. He hasn't caused Kevin any damage in particular, but Ben, bit of front wing damage, and he's back in P4, lost a position and a handful of seconds. Unlucky there. That was on Redmond corner by the look of things.
Yeah, it looks like these front 4 now are well and truly spread out. In fact, there's Kevin Henderson now almost the magic second behind Ben Snell, who's looking to take out what would be, I think, his maiden MNL victory. Although it's just closing up. It'd be interesting to see what Hendo can do from here. Håkon Grebstad and Ben Furhoff still in what is now a very spread out pack, with Alex John and Roman in P's 6 and 5 in the reverse order, there, licking their lips at the opportunity now within 2 seconds of Furhoff, and looking to get in touch with that lead to see what they can make of the race, Tim.
Yeah, and I'd say if it were any track but Okayama, I'd say Ben Snell's got this in the bag. He's just over a second, and he's got good pace, and he'll drive away, but he could blow his engine. Who really knows? So look, in all honesty, mate, I hope Hendo can bridge that gap and make a real crack out of it, because it's great to see him. He's the heart and soul of Skip Barber in Australia, I think as long as I've been racing, Hendo's been around the place, and he's in every event that ever sort of has been held. So I really hope there's a good result in store for him tonight, and he's looking pretty good. He's driving well, so we'll see what happens in a handful of laps' time.
Yeah, I often refer to him as the stalwart of the Monday Night Lights. He has just about more caps, I think, between him and Jason Willman than anyone. They're vying for the title of the most caps for Monday Night Lights. Also spent some time in the commentary booth for different Skip Barber events, and certainly loves his Skippy racing. But he's got his hands full now with Håkon Grebstad and Ben Furhoff. Håkon in particular starting to put pressure all over, but Ben Snell, if he keeps it tidy, he can be a little bit ragged at times. I had a race with him earlier in the week and I had a fantastic race with him, really enjoyed it. But if he can keep his head down, he's almost got the gap to run away with this if he can just keep it on track and keep it straight, although we do know he loves his drifting as well. So these two boys behind, or three if you include Furhov, they've got to get their heads down and work hard if they want to catch the hard charging and leading Team Milo driver for this evening in Ben Snell.
Yeah, it's interesting. And just looking at the times, Ben pulled out 0.12 of a second that lap. So, yeah, quite close. And I mean, that's nothing on every corner sort of thing. So, or it's one missed apex by the smallest of margins. So, Kevin, I'm sure he's got the pace in him to match it with Ben. But Håkon's looking pretty racy. His last lap, a full half a second quicker than Hendo. So, I don't think it'd be a bad thing if Håkon got in front of Kevin. They got, what are we, halfway through the race, lap 8 of 14, and I'd really like to see Håkon get around the outside here and make a good crack of it at the front.
No, he's sort of thought better of it there, tried not to cost them too much time, but of course 2x2 through there, neither of them got the optimal driving line, and it has kept that 1 second gap as they use every bit of the track and more up this short run into Redmond at turn 8 now, through this snaking series of first gear corners through Redmond, followed by Hobbs. This, again, a tight sweeping right-hander there. Short run down the straight and then into Michael Knight, and once again these guys sitting 1.2 seconds now as the intermediate split time as they come round final corner now at turn 11 on the tail end. Henderson running very wide there, not worried about his incident points at this stage. Grebstad now pulling up to the inside. Now, is it just to grab some fresh air? Yes, it is. Pulls back in behind in the hope that they can catch on with behind them. Furhov now creeping into this picture and into this battle, looking to really make a charge and a name for himself towards the second half or the tail end stages of this race, Tim.
Yeah, he is, and look, he put in the quickest lap pretty comfortably, a 1:45.1 last time around. Really nice lap by Ben, and his quickest of the run so far. But Hendo as well, he cranked it up a bit. He found some extra pace and he matched Ben Snell at the front, but look, didn't get a great run up through outward curve then. And the gap at the moment, 1.3 seconds. So that's just outside of draft range. He'd really want it here. As looks like Håkon Grebstad's popped his nose up the inside. Is he going to get it done? Oh, easy as you like. He's made it happen up the straight before the braking error. There's no way Hendo's going to hang on to this as Håkon slots up nice and easy. Hendo runs wide. He might lose another spot to Furhoff. See what happens here. Ben makes a go of it around the outside, nice and sideways. He's not going to hang on there. Hendo's got got P3 safely from Ben Furhoff, who's looking pretty racy at the moment, even with the front wing damage. But Håkon Grebstad, P2 now, and I think he's the man for the job to keep Ben Snell honest.
Well, I'll tell you what, 2x2 through those corners there has almost cost Henderson and Furhoff, well, it has, it's almost cost them the draft at about a second now behind Grebstad, who's just cheering all the way. Henderson looking to work with Grebstad almost to get through there, maximise the draft, where we had a good run to begin with, and then Furhoff looking to take advantage has almost cost them the draft. Now, just behind them, of course, we've got Roman, John, and Karen now. Sean Karen, Karan, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. He's now tacked onto the back of these two. Although it looks like AJ's carrying a bit of rear wing damage there. He must have had a bit of a coming together with Roman, perhaps in one of the braking areas, and that's cost him potentially the back there, or the pace to hang on to Roman. Ducking back a bit further, we've got John Scholz in the thick of a battle with Oscar Chinchilla Maza. These two putting on a good show now, fighting for Ps 8 and 9 respectively. Behind them, another MNL regular in Toshimasa Hanada. He's running a bit of a lonely race there in P10. 2 seconds off that gap. P11 in a battle of his own here, has to be said, is Paul Nichols. He's in a battle with Manuel Casado Gil, and the hard charging Fahim Antoinides, who's had his pit stop, of course, 22 seconds in pit lane, and now he's in a battle to try and salvage what he can as Manuel takes a bit of a defensive line there. Interesting to see what Fahim can do in the remainder of this race. Certainly got the pace to burn on these guys, no doubt, and we're looking to get past and salvage what he can from this race as we jump back up front now. Ben Snell is out to a 1.6 second lead over Håkon Gribstad and this chasing pack of Henderson and Verhoeven, and they're well within the drafts now of Håkon Gribstad, who hasn't managed to break it as we thought he might, and indeed Snell's keeping his nose clean and pulling away, Tim.
Yeah, he's just doing really nice out in front and just good clean laps, and 1:45.5 across the strike the past few times, and those lap times are going to be good enough to get the big W. Hopefully no issues though. Lap 11:14, and Ben's looking pretty comfortable out in front, and Håkon, surprisingly and a little bit disappointingly, I thought he was the man for the job to put some pressure on Ben, but he hasn't been able to make it happen. And last time round in the 46s, and at the end of the day, mate, that's just not good enough. He's cost himself 3/10. And without pressure, I mean, Hendo's not close enough to really, cause any issues for Håkon. So just a poor lap, and Ben Snell is looking pretty comfy at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's 8/10 off Hawkins' best lap, whether it be draft assisted or not. Although you were saying earlier that in draft you can be great up the straights, but compromise through those tight series of corners towards the tail end of this lap. As we are on lap 11 now. And we've got Henderson defending Verhoeven into the hairpin at turn 5 as they come through this tight infield section now through Revolver and then Piper down the hill there. Lovely flowing section if you can get it right down the hill there before you come into those tight first gear series of corners to round out your lap. But yeah, look, now it looks like Henderson is caught up nearly half a second on Grebstad there, and Verhoeven all the while sitting in the tail looking to make his move. As both these guys will be interesting because both these guys are pretty racy when it comes down to it, so probably biding their time a little bit more than I would have expected, because maybe they learnt the lesson. It nearly cost them the draft and a chance at the second step on the podium at least, but I doubt it'll stay that way for too long with just the 3 laps remaining, Tim.
Yeah, look, I'm surprised to see Ben. He's just done exactly what I thought he would, and that's pull out, get a bit of cool air into that engine, because he's sitting nice and close behind Kevin, sorry, and we do know the temps creep up a bit, and that is what blows these little skippy engines. But hopefully we see a bit of elbows out racing from these two, nice and close, and fair at the end of the day. But Kevin, as we know, he races very hard, and Ben I've had the pleasure of belting around with a couple of times, and he's a very good driver too. So I'm keen to see what'll happen in the next couple of laps. As Ben, at the end of the day, mate, you don't race for fourth. You want to be on the podium, and I'd just be so surprised if he didn't try and make that move sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we might hop on board with him now and have a look, see what's going on here as he's tucked in behind. I mean, the other thing to think about is he's been known to try the short fueling strategy. As he's side by side now, looking to make that move into the turn 5 hairpin. Kevin leaving hang out to dry, although it can be done, I've seen it done plenty of times where you get someone going to the outside, very loose through there, going through the outside of the hairpin. You can then get the inside run into Revolver and get the move done through Revolver and Piper as they follow through, but not that lap for Verhoeven that time, as he's still tucked in behind Henderson now, who himself has got his eyes front and back. He's chasing, all the while he's defending from Ben Verhoeven in P4, chasing down Grebstad in P2, and probably that mixed or split brain activity might be holding back a bit from chasing down Håkon Grebstad in front, who is, again, he's done a reasonable time there at 45.6. He equalled the leader, but certainly not catching him at this stage with just the 2 laps to go, Tim.
Yeah, last time round was pretty clean, but as I said, he just hasn't put him together consistently enough at the end of the day. But 1.3 seconds. At the end of the day, mate, it's a hot track. You can make mistakes pretty easily, get a little bit sideways, trying to irk out a little bit of time, get a bit late under brakes, and at the end of the day, mate, that's just going to cost you. And that could be it. That could be the gap between Ben and Håkon evaporated in the matter of one corner, So interestingly, just thinking about Hendo and Ben Verhoeven having their nice close race, and the reason that Ben can't get around the outside of Hendo, even with this great run, is that the track temp today, 46 degrees. These guys who try and go late under brakes, there is no grip there to get the job done. So he's going to have to come up with something a bit more innovative than a good crack around the outside of hairpin corner.
Yeah, mate, and as now they tuck right on the back, and the other thing the temperature does, of course, I just had vision of Alex John, who's dropping down the order now with a blown engine. Don't know if that was from the damage in the rear that he copped earlier, or just another unfortunate victim of the Okayama, the curse of Okayama here with a blown engine, but that's ended what was a relatively competitive run for AJ, even with the damage. But now we're coming down to the final, or the penultimate run through these final series of corners now, going through Hobbs now into turn 10 at Michael Knight, and into then the final, or the penultimate run through last corner at turn 11. As these guys now, I expect the battle to really heat up as Snell, hopefully not shaking in his boots too much as he chases what I think will be a maiden victory. These guys now, action aplenty for this final lap.
Yeah, and I'm just keen to see where Ben's, where he thinks he can get the job done. He sat behind Kevin's draft, didn't pull out, doesn't care about the cold air anymore. If you can't send up the inside somewhere soon, you're not going to get the job done. As he gets up right over the ripple strip through the left-hander that is turn number 2 at Williams, looking to get close to Kevin, and he might have a crack on the right-hand side. I don't think Kevin is going to protect under brakes here. He moves to the right a little bit, not too far back on the racing light as those two get right up over the ripple strip. Kevin, though, he's going to be tough to pass. He's got through there cleanly, and he also has Hawk on draft, so I don't think Ben, while 0.2, 0.3 behind, I don't think he's got enough in the tank to get past Kevin.
Yeah, it looks to be single file here, although he's starting to get that move underway. Oh, very deep under brakes there. Henderson, of course, nowhere to go, right up behind Grebstad there, and all of them there staying those positions. Oh, I'll tell you what, that was the sort of time and the place to get it done, as these guys now finish through these final series of corners now, up that short straight now into Redmond. You can get a move done here as Kevin takes half defence, half attack there, really defensive more than anything, as he never really had a shot there at Grebstad now, as these three now come through Hobbs now at turn 9. It's really done and dusted, although is there a lap car in front of them? Yes, it is. I think it's Alex John in front of them. We hop on board now as we see, no, Ben Snell it is, I beg your pardon. I thought I saw a Team Milo car, and it was the race leader with another one in front of him, trying to avoid, I guess, another lap potentially. But Ben Snell now coming across to take the maiden victory. Hawk on Grebstad in P2. Oh, Henderson. And who's that? Car number 8 is Russell Clark, giving a friendly congratulatory love tap to Grebstad over the line, I think, but before he blew his engine. Let's go back to our early race leader, Fahim Antonitis. He's chased his way all the way back up to P10, not necessarily relying on the misfortune of others as was expected originally. A couple of little mishaps in front of him that probably helped him out, but a pretty strong drive nonetheless. And then Alex John now, after blowing his engine, coming across in P13, quite costly for him in terms of iRating and points, and just that one spot out of Monday Night Lights points as well. So not perhaps the night he would have liked, but still, while the guys are going down on their cool down lap, why don't we take a look at the final standings here for round 3 of Monday Night Lights Season 14 from Okayama International. Ben Snell taking out P1, and again, I'll say it again, I think it's his maiden victory, and certainly one of the few ones that Team Milo have seen, representing Club ANZ. Great to see one of the local boys do so well and take out the victory. Hawk on Grebstad cementing his Monday Night Lights lead, finishing in P2 with a really strong drive. Kevin Henderson, stalwart of the club, he's done fantastically to take out his 3rd spot on the grid, on the podium, I should say, and we know how much he prizes his Monday Night Lights, so he'll be grinning from ear to ear, no doubt. Not only at the result, but the fact that he had a good, solid race and a lot of action on track in and around him as well. P4 to Ben Furhoff, who might be a little disappointed with the result, but certainly not with the action on track. P5, Cristobal Otero Roman from Iberia. Great drive from him. Sean Curran, first time we've seen him in Monday Night Lights. Car number 14, only just snuck into the top split from ANZ and finishing in P6. That'll be a great points haul for him. P7, Oscar Chinchilla Maza from Iberia. Another regular in the making. P8, John Scholtz, from Team Venom and ANZ. He's down one spot from where he started in P8 and probably hoping to be a bit further up the score sheet. P9, Toshimasa Hanada from Japan. I know it says Asia, but that's a Japanese name. And another one becoming quite regular here on a Monday night. Fahim Antoinide as well. What could have been for Fahim? He certainly had pace to burn here, and just an unfortunate incident he was caught up in there. Cost him what could have been an otherwise great result. Second page of the score sheet here. Paul Nico Nichols. He's made it to the top split for, I think, the first time tonight, representing Friday Night Race Club, and he's in P11. P12, Jose Manuel Casada Gil from Iberia. P13, leading the rest of the Team Milo crew, is Alex J. John from ANZ. P14, his teammate in Russell Clark. Sam Devantier, the cowboy himself, in P15 after having an early race incident. And of course, Ian Bevan, another one of our front runners, through no fault of his own, through, what could be the curse of the internet racer. He had connection issues tonight, and that cost him dearly, Tim.
Yeah, it did. Unfortunate for Ian, but he'll be back next week. He's had a pretty good run in the skippies, and unfortunately, iRacing aren't too sympathetic to internet issues. So I think tonight's cost him about 120 of his, 4,800 or whatever IR he is. That's going to take a little while to make up, so he'll be disappointed. But you know what it means, though, is that he'll be back at every M&L for the rest of the season. So, but tough luck tonight, Ian, and look forward to having you back next week.
Yeah, that's right. It's great to see him back in the MNL field. It's fantastic to see him, in fact, and I'm really disappointed for him because he has had a couple of good results, and just disappointing for him tonight. But like you say, hopefully we'll see him back bigger and better next week. Well, we've got a few people in the green room. Why don't we bring them up in finishing order, which of course is how we like to do it around here. And first of all, we'll bring up the successful winner of the race tonight, Mr. Ben Snell. Ben, what a race, mate. A couple of the contenders fell away. You got yourself a gap there, and I bet you're grinning from ear to ear, mate.
Oh, I can't be happier, especially at a track I'm not very fast at.
Well, makes me feel better for that race we had earlier in the week, mate, but I'm sure you got a bit more practice in from there. But tell me how the race unfolded from the cockpit for you, mate.
I got a really good run on the first lap on Mr. Furhoff. So I went to the outside, and apparently the outside was where it was safe because I think for him picked up a bit of damage, unfortunately. And then Ian dropped out, which were the two guys I was struggling to keep up with last race. So after that, it was pretty much just try and lead from the front and defend at all costs.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Well, it seems like pace or speed was the best defence on the night, mate, and you certainly had enough of that to keep clear. I mean, you finished about a second or thereabouts in front, although I think you probably slowed down a bit at the end. And but you certainly managed that gap really well and didn't really have to worry about the curse of the engine temps at Okayama, mate. So congratulations on what I think, if I'm not right, I said it enough times, was it your maiden victory here tonight?
This is my first win, yes.
Excellent. Well, congratulations,
Finally,
mate.
I got that monkey off my back.
Yeah, that's it. Well, mate, keeping it on the black stuff helps a lot, and I think you drove a really well-controlled race, mate, and the pace shone through in the end. So congratulations on that, mate, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout-out to before we let you go?
Oh, as always, shout out to you guys. I know you've been having some issues lately, so the fact that you guys are broadcasting no matter what's really great. And as you can see, we're still getting good turnouts. And of course, thanks to Team Milo.
Yeah, that's it. Fantastic, mate. Yeah, we've managed to get most of them sorted. Looks like still a couple of drop frames, but certainly nothing like we've been having previously. So thanks again, mate, and we'll catch you again next week.
Thanks, guys.
There you go. Tim couldn't be happier for young Ben Snell there taking out his maiden victory. Great to see Team Milo up the top as well.
Yeah, no, he did really well, and I was worried on the last lap you might get a bit of nerves, whatever it may be. But he managed the gap pretty comfortably in the end. And good on him. But I'm just curious to know about this Milo team. They've got an awful lot of funding that have come through for this season, and they're picking up all the good drivers. I'm just not sure, how that's working or where the money's coming from. I don't think Milo's pocket's that deep. But no, Ben did really well for those guys tonight, and I'm sure it's the first of many, many victories.
Perhaps something the stewards will want to have a look at in the future. But no, next of all was our second on the podium tonight was Mr. Håkon Grebstad. Håkon currently leading the Monday Night Lights, of course, and tonight's result won't hurt at all, mate.
It won't. Sure won't.
Yeah.
Some unfortunate a disconnect from Ian though, and yeah, Fahim got taken out as well, so that kind of put me in a good spot.
Yeah, sure did, mate. There was plenty of action early, but you qualified well, which was great. Although, P6, I've seen you a bit further down the order in recent times, so good to see you a bit closer up the front, and then going on with it with the pace that we know you've got. Still in that purple patch of good results, and this track was kind to you, yeah?
Yeah, considering this isn't one of my tracks at all, I don't like this track at all. So yeah, good result considering.
Yeah, well, look out. You've heard it here, folks. He doesn't like this track. What's he going to do in the rest of them where he might find some more preference? But great result once again, mate. I'm sure that'll keep you on top of the pops, as it were. And is there anyone you'd like to give a shout-out to before we let you go?
Oh, congrats, Ben, on the win. I really wanted that, but, how it goes. Couldn't catch him.
Yeah, that's right. He managed the gap well, mate. All right, well, congratulations once again, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Sure will.
Well, there you go. Tim, the softly spoken Mr. Grebstad, all the way from Norway, of course. He had a great drive tonight and getting quite familiar with the front of the field, eh?
Yeah, he's been doing pretty well lately, and I think, it'd be rare to see him outside of the top 5, and obviously when he puts in a bit of practice and the hard yards, you might call it, the results are certainly there. So good on him. And no doubt we'll see him up the front, probably the top step. I think when everything goes well, for the guys who those 5K IR guys, that it's going to be a big ask for him to to make a move past them and really cement his place as one of the best M&L drivers. But he's doing really, really good, nice and consistent, and that's what you need to get to good results consistently to win the championship.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Now, we've got a couple of people left. Last one from the top split was Mr. Fahim Antonides. Fahim, not perhaps the race you or we were expecting. A little bit of contact there through 5 and 6 by the looks, and brought to a pretty... Well, a short time at the front, mate. We were looking forward to a good one, but you certainly had a bit of a fight on your hands after that.
Yeah, well, look, that's just the way it goes sometimes. Everyone knows that hairpin is very dangerous, and that's where people get bunched up. What happens is, obviously, coming out of T4 onto the back straight, a lot of drafting. You can get a lot of, especially on the first lap, you get a lot of cars bunched up close together, all drafting. So by the time they get to the hairpin, T5, they're already carrying more speed than they would be if they were lapping on their own. And then on top of that, there's the game of chicken that comes with it. Should I or shouldn't I outbrake somebody? So as you can imagine, put all those factors together, you get a lot of chaos through there. Now that I don't think any of that really was the case today, though. We managed to negotiate through that pretty well because Ian and I were going side by side through 5 and 6. We were probably carrying a little bit less speed through there than say some of the guys are used to seeing us carry through. Unfortunately, that caught Ben out. He nudged me from behind, and that was enough to just damage the rear suspension. It was crabbing all the way. So the only thing I could do from then on was to go for the repairs, come out and see how far behind I was. As it happened, I think it was about 16 seconds behind the last guy. And I thought, well, it's Okayama. There's bound to be a few engine blowouts, perhaps a few other tussles along the way, and attrition. So let's see where we ended up. So I guess top 10 ain't too bad.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's still a hefty price to pay in terms of iRating, about 70 odd, I think it'll cost you. But that's the risk you run. But yeah, that's kind of how I
Yeah.
saw it at the time too, mate. You're right. There was 2x2 for the front four there, and as you say, Ben carrying a bit more speed than you were, and it's an easy mistake to make and part of racing. But yeah, we were robbed of what could have been there with yourself and Ian dropping out with connection issues ultimately for poor old Ian. But
Yeah.
look,
Well,
sorry,
hopefully
mate, go
next
ahead.
week. No, I was just saying. So hopefully next week we can Ian can join us and Tim can join us as well, and we can have a proper race.
Yeah, well, that's it, mate. Speaking of proper races, what's happened to your teammate there in Enzo Cantor? We haven't seen him for a while. I was just saying to Tim off air that it might just be that he's got work on, or hopefully he hasn't given up the ghost on us, as he's a real regular here on a Monday night.
We think he's gone feral. We've set out a search party for him. He's hiding away in a mountain somewhere in Italy. There's been some sightings of a yeti-like looking creature with dark hair.
Yeah.
So we don't know, but we'll. I'm sure he'll be back soon.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. One thing before you go, I saw we were talking about it earlier. You put up a post on the forums this week about getting a coaching session with Johnny Guindy, and I can tell you what, it's set the cat amongst the pigeons because we were saying, it's a measure of both the men because a measure of Johnny's coaching skills, but to find sort of 3 or 4 tenths, I think you were saying around here, which is hard enough of itself to do, let alone someone of your pace, but then of yourself to be open to go and having that done, even at the pace that you've got, mate. Tell us a bit about that experience.
Well, firstly, it was a great experience. I really have to thank Johnny. I mean, he definitely knows what he's talking about. Don't forget, this is a guy who got picked out of sim racing to go and race in the real world. So you can imagine the amount of stuff that he's probably picked up along the way, both from the sim and the real world that he can apply in his coaching sessions. And one of my weaknesses, I guess, is that I've never really understood telemetry. I just get in the car and I drive. And I thought, you know what? A lot of these top guys, they spend hours, and I'm not sure how long they spend, but they probably spend some time going through the telemetry, studying stuff and seeing what's going on. And I thought, why don't I mean, this guy, Johnny, he's consistently heading the time trial charts every week. He's always number one, and I thought there's no one better to learn from because if you want to be the best, you got to learn from the best, I suppose, don't you? So I contacted him. He was a bit bemused. He thought, "What am I going to do with you?" And I said, "Well, if we're both open minded, even you can learn something. No one's beyond learning something new. So let's give it a shot. Maybe I'll learn nothing, but maybe I'll learn something." And surprisingly, I learned quite a lot. One of the things that I was doing wrong was carrying too much lock on corner exits. So I was getting a lot of tire scrub, and you can only notice these things through reading telemetry. I was completely oblivious to the fact that that's what I was doing. It was a complete shock to me, a real revelation. So I adjusted that, and that's found me a bit of time. And I sent him an apology earlier today because I think I just pipped him by 6 thousandths of a second on the time trials for for Okayama. And I can see he's putting in some more laps now to see if he can wrestle that off me again. And I hope he does because I'd feel really bad about it if he didn't.
Well, that's a great perspective on it. Like a fresh pair of eyes will help anyone. I know I've been struggling to find an extra bit of time, been looking for a few different options as to how I do that. But yeah, look more about Johnny's story. It's interesting you say that. I did an episode of my podcast, the Top Split podcast. Check it out at thetopsplit.com. It was spent a good amount of time with Johnny and his story about how he went from trying out on a PlayStation in his local shopping centre and going on to driving in one of the strongest 24-hour races in the world.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's an amazing story, and it's fantastic to see
I'll
him.
check it out.
Yeah, he gives back to the community as well, and he's a big part of it. So great to see. Well, thanks. Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
And then just on that one last note, though, I'd encourage anyone, no matter how good or bad you are, to get some coaching because, as you say, it gives you a different perspective. And Johnny was a bit coy about me putting a post up, I think, And I said, you know what? Screw him. If it puts people's noses out the joint, especially some of the top runners, then screw him because you helped me, and therefore everyone needs to know about it. So hopefully, yes, you're right. It's picked up a bit of interest, and hopefully Johnny will do some business off it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's a good fella too. So yeah, it's good to
Yeah.
see. All right, mate. Well, thank you very much for joining us
Cheers.
here once
No
again,
problem.
and hopefully we'll see you back again next week.
All right. Take care. Bye.
There you go, Mr. Gorkrotch. A great message there from one of the nice guys on the track out there from Fahim. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, if my issues on track are only as bad as his were, then I've just learned how to solve them. So let's lock on corner exit, and I'll find 210s.
There you
But
go.
no, I think you're on the money, though. You're absolutely right, and Fahim's right that little bit of investment is can just be worth so much, particularly for the guys who are struggling to find that extra bit of pace, learning the telemetry, understanding how it works, and being able to use it in the future. You know, doing something by yourself is invaluable. So good on him and Johnny as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our final interview for the night is the Golden Stig himself, who has been in the second split tonight. Was it, Tim? And tell us, mate, how did you end up?
Oh, look, Alex and Tim, I've had a perler. I've had an absolute blinder. We've taken out the second split tonight. We've qualied first, finished first, fastest lap tonight. We've taken the trifecta.
Holy dooly, the Golden Stig's on fire. Of course, Tim, no stranger to the commentary booth, normally joining us here on a Monday night. But I tell you what, I'll struggle to get him back in after a result like that. Congratulations, Tim, mate. Tell us, how was the racing? Were you all on your Pat Malone there?
No, it wasn't. And look, we had a great race. The second split was quite good. The top three guys, myself, Ivan, and Jason Willman. And I really feel sorry for Jason. I actually think I probably took the race away from him. I actually, there was one lap there where he got past me, but he actually gave me the corner. And then from there, I felt like he was the faster car. But he let me by. And then after that, I managed to take Ivan on another couple of laps and took out the top position. But yeah, it was great racing all round. Really good bunch of guys down there in the second split tonight, Alex.
Well, fantastic work, Tim. Really glad to hear that went well for you. Of course, guys, those of you who don't know, we run this race at the same time each week in the official Skip Barber session. We score the first anything up to 3 splits in the overall championship for a Monday Night Lights. And so, for example, if I pull up the scores now, you can see this was the table prior to this week's race with Håkon Grebstedt, who finished in second tonight, just on top ahead of Fahim Antonitis, who in P10 did score some points, but we'll see how he goes. Russell Clark in P3, he of course didn't score any points tonight, down in P14 unless I'm mistaken. So we'll update those scores tonight. But what it does is it gives the guys a little bit extra to race for out on track each week. Adds a little bit of fun along with the broadcast. So fantastic to see the guys in the second split having a good run too. And congratulations to you, Stiggy. That's a great race. And hopefully I think I can see you grinning from ear to ear all the way from here, mate.
I am, Alex. I am. It was a great night. Look, I haven't had a good run in the Skip Barbers, and I really wanted to give it a shot. I tried this morning, failed this morning, and when I've had 3 races tonight, and it was good to finish it off this way. Really good.
Well done, mate. Well, before we let you go, as always, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Shout out to our sponsors, Morgan Cranes, big sponsor there for 2018-19 of Venom Racing, to my Venom Racing guys, and also to Timmy Grawcrocher for his coaching. He's been giving me a few tips on the stream, and I have been taking them in, and it's obviously paid off tonight.
Not sure about that, mate. I think my key thing on your stream is making fun of the new furniture.
All right. Well, thank you, Tim, and we'll look forward to seeing you either on track or in the booth next week.
Yeah, look, we might be back in the booth next week.
No way, mate. You just logged them. You had a 250 IR gain tonight, mate. You can't not race. So consider me in the booth next week, and you're back on track.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
Good on you, mate.
Well, there you have it, folks. That was the Golden Stig himself. After a famous victory in the second split, I feel really good for Tim. It's that'd be a great feeling. As I've never taken out an MNL split in any way. I think I've got a podium once, but never a victory. Of course, you've probably had a couple in your time, haven't you, Mr. Gorkrotcher?
Nah, I think I've only ever managed a 4th or a 5th once, but no, I've done okay. So, but no, it is. It doesn't matter what split you're in, first, second, 20th. It's irrelevant. If the racing's good, it's satisfying to get that big W. And of course, if you get the pole on the fastest lap through the race too, and it was a good hard race, then I mean that's what it's all about. Who you race against is irrelevant, or their I ratings irrelevant. If you're enjoying yourself, mate, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, 100%. That's it. All right, folks. That's about it for the broadcast. Oh, as we see a Team Milo car flipping off in the background. Oh, there you go. Russell, just once more for you, mate. I know you're in chat and you're enjoying watching every moment of that. Even if it is in slow-mo. That's about it for tonight, folks. Of course, you can come and join us here once again next week at this time, or of course, this is the channel to check out myself when I'm racing here on a Friday, Saturday night, sometimes on a Sunday, even midweek sometimes. I did a nice couple of races here actually during the week, which was good fun. But until next time, which track are we at next week, Tim? Do you remember?
Mid-Ohio next week.
Oh, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see who turns up. Great track. Hopefully everyone will get
killer. Good close racing. Really close racing. So it should be good.
Yeah, hopefully the guys will turn out and have a good time. I know our regulars will. But until next time, folks, I've been your host, Alex McKellar, and on behalf of Mr. Gorkrotcher, Mr. Tim Gorkrotcher himself, I will say ciao for now.